At this point, I'm going to ask Curtis to play some type of Star Wars theme music or something that won't get us booted off of YouTube to show that we have, how do you pronounce this? Arex 531s. This is like a kind of like a Tiemco 200R, but barbless. And I like the gap on this one quite a bit. Really super long point as well. So super sharp hooks. Anyway, what do you do when you get a new curved shank dry fly-ish hook? You tie a stimulator. So we're going to tie a stimmy that's kind of like a, almost like a salmon fly, kind of a dark brownish stone fly-ish color. So we'll just knock it out. We got some burnt orange UTC 70 thread. We're going to dress down the bend just a little bit. I said 70, but it's 140, like you can see. Curtis always got to correct me. I was just testing him. So we're going to wrap it down to about right there. And I'm going to create a bump of thread, and you can see this lays down nice and flat. Oh, that's too flat. Okay, so there's just a tiny little bump there, and that's going to be plenty for what we want to do. I'm going to use some brown select cow elk, and this is kind of almost a rusty-ish brown, which I really like. I need to stop saying ish about everything. There's just no absolutes in fly tying. Okay, so I've got my hair all stacked up and lined up, and I'm going to tie in a fairly short tail. So I'm just going to kind of see how this lines up, cinch it down a little bit, see how that flares out. I don't necessarily want that, but we can fix that in a second. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take the fibers, pull them up, and I'm going to wrap forward to about where the head's going to start, which is right here. So now I can pull those fibers over and tie them down. And then I can wrap back over the top of these to cinch them down nice. And pull all those up and trim them off. Okay, so when I get back to the very back of the hook, I'm going to unwind my thread a little bit and put some kind of looser wraps right where the tail comes out, and that should pull those fibers together just a bit so they're not quite as flary. So that's the trick to a stimmy tail. Okay, I'm going to tie in a little bit of wire here to counter wrap my hackle, and you could use monofilament or whatever, but this much wire isn't going to affect the buoyancy of your fly at all. So for the body, this is a super cool color. It's called Brown Stone Nymph of SLF dubbing. Just because it says nymph dub doesn't mean you can't use it on a dry fly. So we'll just go against the rules here. So it looks like that. It's kind of dark brownish, a little bit of copper mixed in. I've kind of built in a little bit of a taper into this dubbing noodle, so we'll just get a little bit thicker as we go forward, a little bit more. Okay, so once we're here, we're going to get some hackle. And even though this is a size 8 fly, I don't necessarily want size 8 hackle. I want it to be a little bit shorter, kind of stay within the gap of the hook. So I'm just going to measure some. Okay, so once I have the hackle selected, I'm just going to tie that in. And I like to tie it on the far side of the hook so that the shiny side is facing away from me. And as you can see, this is a super cool color of hackle. It's a dyed medium ginger over variant that Whiting did for us. We're calling it the cinnamon pepper variant, and this is what the cape looks like. It's super cool. Super. Okay, so once that's tied in, I'm just going to take this and palmer it back, and I want to space out those wraps. And that will cause those to kind of angle back. Once I get to the very back of the hook, there's a little trick. I'll take the wire and I'll already start wrapping forward so that it's ready to trap anything down that I want. So there's kind of a half a wrap of wire here. So I'll just go all the way to the back and tie that down with a piece of wire, and then I'm going to come up through that, wiggling it ever so lightly all the way up through the hackle. So there's our Stimulator body hackle. Okay, so once the hackle's tied in, we're going to tie in a wing, and the wing's going to be quite a bit bushier than the tail. So I've got maybe a pencil width of hair that will tie in for the wing. Okay, so I've stacked some hair, and sometimes the hair will have a little bit of a natural curve to it. This is all pretty straight, so I'm going to tie in this hair so that it's barely overlapping the tail, not a ton. So I'm just going to lay that on here, and I've waxed my thread right now with this skull wax so that when I put these looser wraps on the wing, it will keep it right in the place where I want it to be. Some people come in here and trim off this hackle right here. You really shouldn't have to do that. Even if it pokes up through the wing, it'll look fine. So we'll hold this wing in place, and we'll do just some looser wraps right at the back. If I really crank down on this, it would flare the hair too much. And now I'm just going to kind of go forward, and once I get up here, I can really crank down on it a little better. And before I'm going to let go of this wing now, and if I'm putting any tension on this thread when I let go, it will spin the wing around. So you want to make sure that you don't have any tension on your thread when you let go of this wing. So you can see that kind of curves back nicely. Once I'm to this point, I'm just going to take that wing and pull those up and trim it at an angle. So once I have that trimmed, again, it's not totally seated in place, I can come in now and really start cranking on this. A few of them decided to escape. So there's our stimmy wing, and as you can see, it kind of flared out at the back. And if it does that, that's fine. All you need to do is take a bodkin, and you stick your bodkin up underneath the wing, just like this. And I chose the dirtiest one in there. I'm going to put this right under the wing and kind of pull that back as I bring the bodkin out, and it will kind of curve that hair just like it should be with the stimmy. So you can see it's just lightly curving now toward the back. Kind of a cool little hack. Alright, so for the front on this one, I'm actually going to put some rubber legs on it, just to complicate things. Black barred root beer, grizzly flutter legs. First things first, we're going to tie in some hackle. So we're going to probably want, probably not a full size 8, but maybe a size 10 hackle on this because it is a size 8 fly. That one looks pretty good. We'll do the same thing where I tie it in on the far side, shiny side facing away from me, so that when I start wrapping it, it will wrap the proper way. And now, you know, I could tie in my rubber legs right here, but there's quite a slope going down toward the front of the hook. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some dubbing on that first, and I'm going to use some hairy ice dub. So this is a burnt orange color. So if you're fishing this as a salmon fly, I like to have just a little bit of a hint of orange on mine instead of tons and tons. So this will be our hint of orange. Now I'm going to come all the way to the eye of the hook. Well, maybe not quite that far. And I'm going to create kind of a reverse ramp, or like, you know, a ramp up to where I'm going to tie on my legs, just like that. So you got a little bit of dubbing, a little bit of thread area. I'm going to use the cheater wax again, so that when I tie these legs in, they'll stay put. So I'm going to take this leg, I'm just going to fold it in half, put it right on top of the hook with 2 really light wraps, and then I'm going to pull them to each respective side, and then I'll put a little bit of pressure on. Okay, those are seated in place. So I'll cut those a little bit longer than I like them, just so that I can wrap my dubbing in between the legs. So I'll just wrap some dubbing in between those, pull the 2 front legs back, dub in front of the legs a little bit, and leave my thread right at the eye. So as you can see, it creates a nice X pattern on those legs as well. Turn off your phone, Curtis.
What the hell just happened there?
He's so unprofessional. What was that? Tenkara Lovers of America? Turn that crap off. Try doing this.
Dude, that was the weirdest thing ever.
You're such a noob. Guys, I apologize for my colleague and head nerdologist at Fly Fish Food. Okay, so I'm going to start wrapping this hackle. We'll put a wrap behind those legs, just one wrap. Ooh, we got hair that's trying to get in. Come on, hair. There we go. So one wrap of hackle, and then we're just going to hackle forward, avoiding legs at all cost. Once I get in front of them, just going to pull them back out of the way. Then we just end up down here with enough space to tie in a neat little head. Just pull everything back and build up your head. That was the most painful whip finish ever. Okay, and one way to get your legs nice and to the proper length. What do we have going on here? some little feathers that want to get out the front of it. So I'm just going to take all these legs and push them all to the front of the fly and just trim them all with one swoop. And that will leave the back legs a little bit longer than the front legs, nice and proportionate. But anyway, here is a stonefly looking stimi on an awesome hook.